Beneath the Frozen Sky. Part 1: The Beginning. The snow never stops in January. Not here, not in Iceland. By the time we finished sealing the last segment of the gas pipeline near Mount Esja, the sky had already turned into a swirling white void. The kind of storm that makes you forget the world has colors other than gray and blue. My name is Ethan Carter, maintenance engineer for Nordgas. I'd been in the country for 4 months, long enough to learn 2 things. Iceland's beauty is a lie in winter, and the cold here doesn't just bite, it burrows. Lars Jensen, our local technician, slammed the hood of the Land Rover shut and gave me a tired grin. His beard was rimmed with frost. "All set," he said. "We should move before the road closes." Behind us, the mountains loomed like sleeping giants, shrouded in mist and snow. Mikael Svensson, the youngest on our crew, stumbled toward the vehicle carrying a toolbox that looked twice his weight. "Can we please go before I turn into a statue?" he groaned. We packed up and started the long drive back to Reykjavík. The heater hummed weakly against the cold, and the smell of diesel mixed with the faint metallic tang of snow-damp clothing. Lars took the wheel. Naturally, he was born somewhere near Akureyri and drove through storms the way city men jaywalk through traffic. I sat in the passenger seat, watching the headlights dissolve into the blizzard ahead, while Mikael dozed off in the back, his mouth half open. The road curved along the foothills of Esja, climbing through a landscape so empty it might as well have been the surface of another planet. The snow whipped sideways in furious gusts, and the sky pressed low, like a lid trapping us inside the storm. Every few minutes, the tires crunched over ice and the Land Rover lurched, its chains clattering like metal bones. I tried to keep Lars talking, anything to stay awake. "You ever hear those stories," I asked, "about people disappearing in these mountains? Some kind of Icelandic ghost legends?" He laughed, a short dry sound. "Ah, the Huldu folk, the hidden people. Every foreigner asks about them. You don't believe in that stuff?" He shrugged. "My grandmother did. Said the mountains belong to them, and sometimes they take people who don't show respect." He flashed a grin. "But my grandmother also thought Wi-Fi was witchcraft." I chuckled, but there was something about the tone of his voice that made me glance at him twice. "So you've never seen anything strange out here?" "Strange?" He kept his eyes on the road. "Everything out here is strange, Ethan. You'll get used to it." The wind howled louder, rattling the mirrors. The blizzard thickened until the headlights reached no farther than a few car lengths. The landscape became a blank wall of snow, no horizon, no trees, just endless white swallowing sound and sight alike. It felt like driving through the belly of a cloud. Mikael stirred in the back seat. "We still alive," he mumbled. "For now," Lars said. "Try to dream of somewhere warm." Mikael laughed weakly and fell back asleep. I watched his breath fog the window, small ghostly clouds fading into the glass. For a moment, I thought I saw something moving in the periphery, a shadow flickering across the snow, but it was gone before I could be sure. We drove on in silence. The clock on the dashboard blinked 22:47. The storm showed no sign of easing. At one point, Lars leaned forward, squinting through the windshield. "Damn, the markers are gone." "What do you mean?" "The orange posts," he said. "They guide the road, they are buried." "So how do you know we are still on the road?" He gave a tight smile. "Instinct." Not exactly comforting. The wind screamed louder, shaking the car. Somewhere beyond the storm, thunder cracked, not lightning thunder, but the groaning of shifting ice. I pressed my gloved hands together, feeling the stiffness in my fingers. My eyelids grew heavy, lulled by the rhythm of the wipers. Then Lars started talking again, softer this time. "There's a story about this route," he said. "Near the stone circle north of Esja. People say they see lights dancing there. Sometimes, figures. What kind of figures? He hesitated. Travelers. Explorers. Miners. People who died in the snow long ago. He smirked again. But of course, tourists love that kind of nonsense. Of course, I said. But something in me prickled, that uneasy instinct you get before an avalanche or a car crash. I tried to shake it off, staring into the snow. The storm began to wane slightly, visibility improving from 10 meters to perhaps 20. That's when the radio cut out with a harsh burst of static. Lars smacked the dashboard, but the speakers only hissed. A faint rhythmic crackle pulsed through the noise, like breathing or distant whispering. Signal interference, Lars muttered. Then he hit the brakes. The tires screamed on the ice, and Mikael jolted awake with a shout, hitting the back of my seat. The Land Rover skidded sideways, then stopped dead. My heart slammed against my ribs. What the hell, Lars? He didn't answer. He was staring ahead, jaw clenched. I followed his gaze, and froze. There, barely visible through the curtain of snow, stood a figure. Alone. In the middle of the road. At first I thought it was a trick of the storm, a snowdrift shaped like a man. But then it moved. Slowly. Unsteadily. The figure staggered forward a few steps, then stopped again, as if struggling to stay upright against the wind. No other vehicle in sight. No headlights. No footprints that I could see, though the snow was falling too fast to tell. Mikael leaned between the seats, bleary-eyed. Is that someone walking? Looks like it, I said. What's he doing out here? Lars murmured. We waited. The figure kept coming, one halting step at a time. I assumed it was a he, wore a long parka the color of old snow, its fur-lined hood blown back by the wind. The coat shimmered faintly in the headlights, the fabric stiff with frost. I could just make out gloved hands hanging loosely at his sides, the fingers curled in a strange, twitching rhythm. Lars tapped the horn, a short beep swallowed by the storm. No reaction. The figure kept walking, head slightly bowed, as though listening to something deep within the earth. Should we help him? I asked. Lars frowned. He's insane if he's walking out here. Mikael's voice trembled. Maybe his car broke down. Where? There's nothing for miles. Still, we couldn't just sit there and watch. I opened my door, and a blast of freezing air punched me in the face. Snow stung my cheeks like needles. I pulled my scarf up and stepped out, boots crunching into the powder. My flashlight beam cut through the storm, flickering across the man's shape. Hey! I shouted. Are you all right? He didn't answer. He just kept walking, head down, lips moving. The sound of the wind carried faint words, too soft to make out. I moved closer. 20 feet. 10. My light caught his face. It was grey. Not the healthy pallor of cold skin, but the dull, waxy grey of something lifeless. His eyes were open, but unfocused, pale, almost white, as if a thin sheet of ice had formed over them. Frost clung to his eyebrows and beard. His lips were blue, moving in a slow repetition. That's when I heard it, the words he was mumbling. 3:13, 3:13. My stomach tightened. Sir? Do you need help? He didn't even blink. Just kept walking, boots dragging through the snow. Behind me, I heard Lars call out, Ethan. Leave him, get back in the car. But I couldn't move. Something about the man, his stiffness, his monotone whisper, rooted me in place. It was as if the air itself had thickened between us. Then Lars joined me, crunching through the snow. Sir, he yelled, touching the man's shoulder. The figure stopped. He turned toward us. And the sight of his face under the flashlight made every hair on my body rise. Part 2: The Encounter. The man turned his head toward us with a slowness that felt deliberate, almost mechanical, like a puppet whose strings had just been pulled. The beam of my flashlight caught his face fully now, and my breath stopped short. His skin was the color of candle wax left too long in the cold, pale and slightly translucent. Beneath it, faint blue veins webbed across his cheeks and temples. His lips were cracked, darkened with something that wasn't quite blood. But it was his eyes that froze me, eyes the color of melting snow, white and clouded, yet somehow aware. They didn't look at me so much as through me. Lars muttered something in Icelandic under his breath. I caught only the word drauga, ghost. The man's mouth moved again, and this time I heard the words clearly, rasped through chapped lips. 3:13, 3:13. I swallowed hard. Sir, we need to get you out of the cold. There's a camp about 5 kilometers from here. No response. Just the same rhythmic whisper, the same empty stare. Lars took a cautious step forward, his boots crunching in the snow. Einar, he said suddenly. Einar Bjornsson. The name struck a faint chord in my memory. I turned to him. You know this guy? Lars didn't answer right away. His face had gone pale beneath his beard. There was a man by that name, he said finally, his voice low. An explorer. He vanished up here 4 years ago. They never found him. I looked back at the stranger. You're saying this could be him? That's impossible, Lars said. He'd be dead. The man twitched. His mouth opened, and for a moment, I thought he was about to speak something new, but what came out was a sound, low and gurgling, as if from deep under frozen water. He swayed, then suddenly lurched forward. Instinct took over. I caught him before he hit the ground, the weight of his body shockingly heavy and cold. Not the kind of cold you feel from the weather, but a deeper chill that seemed to seep through my gloves, through my bones. It felt wrong, like holding a stone carved from ice. His pulse, if there was one, was imperceptible. Help me get him to the car, I said. Lars hesitated, eyes darting toward the storm, then nodded. Together, we dragged the man to the Land Rover and heaved him into the back seat beside Mikael, who blinked in confusion. What the hell is that? Mikael asked, his voice sharp with fear. Someone stranded, I said, trying to sound calmer than I felt. He's hypothermic. We'll take him to the camp. Mikael stared at the man's face, then at me. He doesn't look alive, Ethan. I ignored him and slammed the door shut. The wind was howling harder now, carrying snow like knives. When I climbed back into the passenger seat, Lars was already gunning the engine, eyes locked on the invisible road ahead. We drove in silence for a long while. The man didn't move. Didn't speak. The only sound was the soft, wet rasp of his breathing, if that's what it was. Every few minutes, I glanced back, half expecting him to vanish. But he remained exactly where he was, slumped against the seat, lips faintly moving. 3:13. What does it mean? Mikael whispered. 3:13 what? No one answered. The snow thickened again, the world shrinking to the narrow tunnel carved by our headlights. My watch read 2:47 a.m. The journey felt endless. At last, a faint glow appeared through the storm, the camp. A small prefab structure, steel walls crusted with ice, a flickering light above the door. It wasn't much, but it had heat and power. Lars parked beside it and cut the engine. The silence that followed was deafening. We carried the man inside, half dragging him through the doorway. The sudden warmth of the interior fogged my goggles. The air smelled faintly of diesel, stale coffee, and wet clothes. We laid him on one of the bunks, his body stiff as a corpse. Mikael knelt beside him. No pulse, he murmured. No breath. Check again, I said. He did, pressing 2 fingers to the man's neck. After a moment, his expression twisted. He's cold as stone, Ethan. I turned toward Lars. You said this guy went missing years ago. Are you sure? I saw his picture in the papers. Einar Johnson, the polar geologist. He disappeared north of Esbjerg during an expedition. Search teams found blood and broken equipment, but no body. Lars shook his head. But that was 4 years ago. I looked down at the man. His parka was old, frayed at the seams, dusted with frost even in the heated cabin. A leather tag near the zipper was cracked and faded, but faint letters were still visible, EB. Mikael sat back on his heels. So what is he, then? Before I could answer, the lights flickered. A faint hum rose from the walls, like static caught inside metal. The fluorescent bulbs above us dimmed, then flared, casting long, warped shadows across the floor. The radio on the table crackled to life, sputtering with faint whispers, too soft to make out. Lars frowned and reached for the circuit box. Probably the generator. But before he could move, the man on the bunk spoke. His voice was nothing like the weak muttering from before. It was deep, distorted, as if coming from far below the surface of a frozen lake. Not yet, he said. Cannot enter. Not until 3:13. The words reverberated in the air, impossibly loud, yet muffled, like a sound heard underwater. My skin crawled. Did you hear that? Mikael whispered. Lars didn't respond. He was staring at the man with open terror. What the hell does that mean? I asked, but no one had an answer. The lights flickered again, this time longer. When they steadied, I saw something glinting from the man's coat pocket. I reached in and pulled out a small, round object, a compass. Its casing was brass, old and tarnished, with ornate carvings around the edge. The glass was scratched, and in the center, engraved faintly beneath the needle, were 2 letters, EB. And beneath them, the year 2015. The needle spun slowly, never settling on north. What is that? Mikael asked. Looks antique, I said. But it's... The lights died completely. The room plunged into darkness. The wind screamed against the walls, and in the blackness, we heard it, 3 slow knocks on the door. Thud. 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 Steady. Measured. Too deliberate to be the wind. Lars froze. Who's out there? No one answered. The air inside the cabin felt heavier, colder. My breath came out in visible clouds, even though the heater was still humming faintly in the corner. Mikael grabbed the flashlight and flicked it on. The beam trembled across the room. The man on the bunk lay motionless now, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. I stepped closer, dread churning in my stomach. Einar. I whispered. Nothing. His chest didn't move. His lips were still. Whatever he was, or had been, was gone. The knocks came again. 3 sharp raps this time, faster. Thud. 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 Maybe it's someone else from a nearby site, Mikael said, though his voice was brittle, unconvincing. There's no other site for 50 kilometers, Lars muttered. I checked my watch. 3:12 a.m. Another knock, louder now, almost angry. The sound reverberated through the metal walls, setting the windows trembling in their frames. The compass in my hand began to spin wildly, the needle whirling in frantic circles. Mikael backed away from the door. We have to leave. We have to get in the car and go. Into that storm. Lars snapped. We'll die before we reach the road. We'll die if we stay here. Mikael shouted. The lights flickered back on, only for a second, and I saw movement outside the window. A shadow, tall and indistinct, standing in the snow. Then the lights died again. The door handle began to turn. I lunged forward and slammed the bolt shut, pressing my back against the metal. My heart was hammering so hard it hurt. The knocking stopped abruptly. Silence fell, thick and suffocating. Then, from the bunk behind us, came a soft rustling sound. I turned, dread pooling in my gut. The man was gone. The blanket lay crumpled where he'd been, but the bed was empty. No sound of footsteps. No trace of the door opening. Just absence, a void. Lars whispered, "That's not possible." My watch beeped softly. 3:13. And somewhere outside, beyond the howling storm, came a sound, a scream. High, raw, and human. Mikael's face drained of color. "That came from the circle," he said, his voice breaking. "The stone circle." Before we could stop him, he grabbed the flashlight and bolted for the door. "Mikael. Don't!" Lars shouted, but the wind tore the words from his mouth as Mikael vanished into the blizzard. We stood frozen for a moment, the silence inside the cabin broken only by the faint rattle of the storm. Then, through the window, I saw shapes in the snow, tall, motionless figures standing near the edge of the circle, their outlines blurred by the storm. They held something in their hands. Stones, maybe. Carved stones, glowing faintly with pale blue light. Lars whispered my name, voice trembling. "Ethan, what are they?" I had no answer. All I knew was that outside, somewhere in the endless white, Mikael screamed again, and then, nothing. Only the wind. Part 3: The Resolution. For a few seconds after Mikael disappeared, neither Lars nor I moved. The wind howled against the walls, shaking the cabin like the growl of something alive. I stared at the door he'd run through, still half expecting him to stumble back in, shivering and cursing. But the storm swallowed him whole. "Jesus Christ," Lars muttered. He grabbed his parka from the hook and reached for the flashlight. "We have to bring him back." I caught his arm. "You saw what's out there." "I saw my friend run into a death trap," he snapped. "We can't just leave him." He was right, but my body resisted the idea of stepping outside again. The storm had grown into something monstrous, the kind of wind that seemed to scream with human voices. Still, I forced myself to move. I pulled my gloves tight, slung the radio over my shoulder, and followed Lars into the white abyss. The cold hit like a wall. The air itself burned my lungs. The world outside was a whirlpool of snow and shadow. I could barely see Lars 2 meters ahead, his flashlight beam slashing through the dark like a blade. Every gust of wind erased his footprints before I could step into them. "Mikael!" Lars shouted. His voice was devoured by the wind. "Mikael!" No reply. We trudged forward, guided only by the faint outline of the hills and the eerie, distant glow I'd seen before, that pale blue shimmer beyond the ridge. The snow underfoot grew uneven, studded with half-buried stones. And then I saw them, the circle. 12 stones, each as tall as a man, arranged in a perfect ring. Their surfaces were carved with runes, sharp, ancient markings that seemed to pulse faintly beneath the snow. The air around them hummed, a low vibration that I felt in my teeth more than in my ears. My flashlight flickered as we approached. "Mikael!" Lars called again. Something moved between the stones. At first I thought it was him, but the shape was wrong. Too tall. Too thin. It swayed like smoke, but its shadow cast dark against the snow. Then another figure appeared beside it. And another. Within seconds, there were 5, maybe 6, silhouettes of people standing motionless inside the circle, facing inward. Their bodies glimmered faintly, like ice catching light from within. I froze. My mind refused to understand what I was seeing. Lars stepped forward. "Hey," he shouted, waving his light. "Who's there?" The figures didn't move. Then a voice echoed through the storm, faint at first, then clearer. Mikael's voice. "Lars? Ethan? Over here." He was somewhere beyond the stones. Relief flooded me. "We're coming," I shouted, and without thinking, I followed Lars into the circle. The moment my boot crossed the boundary, the air changed. The wind died, not gradually, but instantly, as if cut off by an invisible barrier. The sound of the storm vanished, replaced by a deep, resonant hum. My flashlight flickered violently, then steadied. The light seemed thicker here, the air denser, shimmering with pale motes that floated like dust in sunlight. Lars stood beside me, breathing hard, his eyes darting around. "Where's Mikael?" Then we both saw him. He was kneeling in the snow at the center of the circle, facing away from us. His body was rigid, his hands gripping something buried beneath the snow. I hurried toward him, but as I reached out, Lars grabbed my shoulder. "Wait!" The figures around us began to move. They turned in unison, slowly, until all their faces, if they had faces, were directed toward us. Their features were indistinct, as if carved from ice and half-melted. Eyes like hollow sockets of frost. Their mouths opened and closed soundlessly, forming words I couldn't hear. Mikael suddenly screamed. It wasn't a human sound, it tore through the silence like a jagged knife. He fell forward onto the snow, convulsing. The ground beneath him glowed faintly, revealing a pattern carved into the ice, a spiral of runes converging on a central point. In that point lay something black, like a pit, or a hole burned through the snow. Lars lunged toward him, but I pulled him back. The air around Mikael shimmered, the snow rippling like disturbed water. And then, from within that blackness, something moved. A shape. A hand. Not flesh, translucent, crystalline, like the claw of a glacier reaching upward. It grasped Mikael by the chest, and with a sound that will never leave me, it pulled him down. The snow collapsed inward, swallowing him whole. He was gone. Lars screamed his name, but the circle swallowed the sound. The figures around us began to chant, low, rhythmic syllables that vibrated in my skull. I didn't know the language, but the meaning crawled through me like ice, the hour, the passage, the return. And then I understood. The man, Einar, had been waiting for 3:13. That was the time the circle opened. The time the barrier between whatever was buried beneath the ice and the world above grew thin. "We have to get out," I shouted. Lars didn't argue. We stumbled toward the edge of the circle, the glowing runes flaring brighter with each step. The air thickened, resisting us, as though invisible hands were trying to pull us back. My flashlight died completely. Darkness surged in around us. I ran blind, guided only by instinct, and then, suddenly, I was free. The wind roared back, slamming into me like a wave. I turned, gasping, expecting to see Lars right behind me. He wasn't. "Lars?" I shouted. "Move." No answer, only the shriek of the storm. A pale glow pulsed inside the circle. For a moment, through the blizzard, I saw him, standing at the edge, staring down into the ruins. And standing beside him was another shape. The man we had found. Einar. His face no longer lifeless, but calm, almost serene. He looked up at me across the snow. Our eyes met. And though the storm raged between us, I heard his voice as clear as thought. "It opens," he said. "The way home." Then the light erupted. A pillar of blue-white brilliance shot into the sky, illuminating the storm from within. The snow turned to glass beneath my feet. I fell backward, blinded. When I opened my eyes again, the light was gone. The circle was empty.'Lars? Mikael? Einar? All gone. Only the wind remained. I don't remember how I got back to the Land Rover. I must have stumbled for hours, half conscious, following the faint shape of the road. The next thing I remember is waking up to daylight, the storm finally broken. The world around me was silent, untouched. There were no footprints. No tracks. The snow was smooth and unbroken, as if nothing had ever moved across it. I drove back to Reykjavík in a daze. The police took my statement. They found the camp exactly as we'd left it, generator running, lights flickering, beds untouched. But no sign of Lars, Mikael, or the man. Their equipment, their clothes, even their footprints, all erased. 4 weeks afterward, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the circle again, those glowing runes spiraling inward, that hand of ice reaching up. The hum. The voice. I left Iceland before spring. I told myself I'd never go back. But sometimes, even now, I wake in the middle of the night. My apartment is warm, quiet, safe. Yet I feel it, that same cold from the mountain air, seeping through the walls. And then I hear it, faint but unmistakable. 3:13, 3:13. When I check the clock, it always says 3:13 a.m. Every time.